PRObrands is one of the biggest FMCG companies in Zimbabwe. The company has an extensive portfolio of over 15 consumer products, which include rice, beverages, detergents, canned products, pastas, and so many more. The company was founded by Nigel Philp in 2007, but the story starts all the way back in the 80s to a young Nigel Philp. Nigel's story begins at Peterhouse Schools, then Harper Adams University in the UK, which was an agricultural college where he would study agricultural marketing. This is where he would learn the key to his future success, product marketing. Fast forward to 1994, the Commercial Farmers Union had set up a commodities free market in Zimbabwe through the creation of the Zimbabwe Agriculture Commodity Exchange, or ZimAce. ZimAce was a platform through which farmers could sell their produce to brokers who would facilitate transactions with industry being companies such as Olivians, which needed soybeans, and National Foods, which needed maize. To join the ZimAce platform, one needed to pay $10,000 to buy a seat and a desk. Nigel, who was in the UK at that time, came back to Zimbabwe, and his father bought him a place at the ZimAce platform where he would become a broker trading in wheat and maize. Armed with a pickup truck, a computer, an answering machine, and 6 months of burn, he started the company called PRObrands. He sold 7 tons of ground nuts in his first 4 months, which gave him $2,500 in revenue, while he was burning $500 a month in expenses and overheads. Nigel would drive around farms in Mash Central, convincing farmers to sell their grain through him for a 1% commission. He would eventually build a database of over 250 farmers. In 1996, at just 25, Nigel met Kevin Fick, his future business partner. Kevin bought 50% of PRObrands for $80,000. With that money, Nigel bought shares in CFI Holdings, which turned his $80K into $100K when CFI went public and listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. Nigel would go on to buy the Mapunga Silo Syndicate marketing rights for $500,000, which allowed him to have exclusive commodity marketing rights for 5 years. That was the turning point of PRObrands, because with that transaction came 20% of Zimbabwe's wheat, and at that time, Zimbabwe used to produce 70,000 tons a year. Suddenly, PRObrands joined the big boys of business, as they now controlled 20% of Zimbabwe's wheat. By the late 90s, PRObrands was moving 200 to 250,000 tons a year of commodities such as maize, wheat, and soya bean. It came as a shock to Nigel when Kevin suddenly wanted out of the business. So Nigel bought him out for $1 million, turning Kevin's initial $80K into a whopping $1 million. 3 months later, in 2000, Nigel would suffer a major setback in the business when Statutory Instrument 232A came out, which banned the trading of maize and wheat by private players. That would be the end of PRObrands. Nigel had to sell most of his assets, including their beautiful offices in Mount Pleasant Business Park. More trouble would brew for the company in 2000 when the third Chimurenga fast-track land reform program hit most of his clients, who now couldn't supply him with commodities. Despite these setbacks, Nigel's story didn't end there. His resilience paved the way for what would later become PRObrands, a company that would rise again. Stay tuned for the next chapter of his incredible story.